Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture.
And I'm Andy Murray from WhatCulture. And coming up today, we're going to tell you everything you need to know about the police investigation made towards Marty Jannetty, who claims he murdered somebody on Facebook yesterday. We're going to pivot over to AEW, where we're going to talk all about Matt Hardy, who was busted open. Going to tell you what happened with him and how badly his injuries are. And then we're going to talk about NXT. I've got a report on the alleged next big thing in the organization.
Plus a surprise appearance on last night's AEW Dynamite that you wouldn't expect, well, unless you saw the spoilers. A surprise appearance on last night's NXT that you probably would expect. And surprise, surprise, the SmackDown tapings are a bloody shambles. This is the news.
So there's nowhere else to start other than with Marty Jannetty. If you were online yesterday, at any point in the day, you'll have seen his name come up. It was everywhere. It was like the top trending thing on Reddit. It was on Twitter, Facebook, everywhere. What happened was Marty Jannetty continued his recent trend of somewhat worrying social media posts with the worst one of all. He made this lengthy post on Facebook. It has since been deleted, but he was talking about how, and I'm not going to read this thing out because there's some really just disgusting language used here, but he's 13 years old, he's trying to buy some substances, he's working at a bowling alley, go out the back, and he says that he killed someone when he was 13 years old. He said it was the first time he had made a man disappear, which suggests that he is confessing to multiple murders, which is it's crazy. It's insane. There's some more stuff in there. You can find the post if you want. It's been deleted, but it's pretty much everywhere. Now, Jannetty is 60 years old these days, so that means that this would have went down in 1973. However, he's confessing to a very serious crime. So understandably, police in the local area, I believe in the state of Georgia, have told TMZ that they are now investigating this. They have some other current homicide investigations as a priority, but in their words, the first step will be seeing if we have any missing persons or unidentified remains cases that match the limited information in the post. So Marty Jannetty has just dumped himself in it, hasn't he? Now, there's a lot of ground to cover when you're talking about Marty Jannetty these days. The guy, if you followed his socials over the past few years, you know that he's all over the place with these things. A lot of worrying stuff coming out. The guy clearly, is in some kind of depreciated condition. He needs help by the looks of things, the guy. But, man, there's no excusing the language he used here and the follow-up comments he made, which were just as bad. There's no excusing the act, of course. It's a terrible, weird situation, not something that you could have really foreseen coming. But here we are. The police investigation's ongoing. We'll bring you more on it as it develops.
Yeah, it's simultaneously surprising and not at all surprising that something like this has happened to Marty Jannetty. As you said, his name was trending everywhere yesterday afternoon as a result of this. Look, he's made questionable social media posts on numerous occasions in the past. He's subsequently gone to claim that, actually, I lost my phone or my Facebook was hacked, which may be the case, but also is often the excuse that someone uses when they realise, oh, probably shouldn't have hit post on that one. This one, though, is like you say, the worst one he's ever made in terms of posting stuff on social media that just stuns the wrestling audience. Like you say, I think everyone, when they see his social media posts, not takes it with a pinch of salt, but tries to appreciate the condition he is in right now. But nevertheless, a stunning revelation. I don't really know what happens next from here. I don't know what happens with the statute of limitations. I don't know how that works, but yeah, we'll keep you posted as this story develops, because it is something we didn't expect to find out about yesterday, and certainly something I didn't expect to wake up to with the police investigating, although they don't really have a choice when someone openly confesses to murder on social media. We will keep you posted, as I said, as this story develops. Let's talk about last night's episodes of Dynamite and NXT. Two great episodes, by the way, in my opinion. Last night saw the appearance of Eric Bischoff on Dynamite, a return to TNT for the first time since WWE, of course, bought WCW. He was the mystery guest moderator between Chris Jericho and Orange Cassidy. He presented 5 questions to the men. Jericho mainly just sort of running down Orange Cassidy and say how much he wanted to beat him up again and make him pay $7,000 for that orange juice stained jacket. And, well, Orange Cassidy not saying a lot, then talking quite rightly about climate change and global warming and stunning everyone, including Bischoff, and then cutting a really good promo. Go and check it out if you haven't seen it already, about how if you know about the fact that they're going to face each other next week, Jericho, Orange Cassidy 2, you know, everyone expects Jericho to win that because, well, it's Chris Jericho, as Eric Bischoff himself said. We all know what he's achieved. We can all go and Google it. But Chris Jericho could become known as the guy who got beaten by the guy who wrestles with his hands in his pockets. I loved this segment last night. I saw some people moaning that if WWE had done this, then we'd have shot it down because, you know, I thought AEW was meant to be the sports-based promotion, not sports entertainment. But for me, Andy, on Dynamite, I enjoyed seeing Bischoff there. I thought he did a great job. And for me, it's about light and shade when it comes to my wrestling. We had some great matches, but we also had some fun little segments too, including MJF as well.
Yeah, I think the wrestling world needs to move beyond the real sport feel thing. It's not this cut and dry sport-based promotion. It's a little bit more sporting than WWE. You know, wins and losses do matter compared to over any other product, but at the end of the day, it's professional wrestling, and pro wrestling has always had silly stuff like this in it. So, you know, we need to stop talking about that. It's silly. You're stuck in the past. I thought this was really good as well. Eric Bischoff, you know, he's a really strange guy to analyze. But, you know, at the end of the day, he's always been a really good performer. Say whatever else you want to know about the guy. Like, on TV, he's always been great. He's got that money smile. He's a really good talker. He's, like, a really convincing sleazeball. And I thought he was good here as well. It's also fitting having him back on TNT after so long away as well. The Orange Cassidy promo was really great. He did the global warming stuff, which I was just like, what the hell? Where'd that come from? And then he just ripped Chris Jericho apart at the end. Yeah, man, it was a really fun, effective segment. They ticked all the boxes. Good stuff at the end there with Jake Hager and Jericho beating Cassidy down before best friends, R.I.P. Suzanne, made the save. This worked really well. And, you know, like, this was spoiled ahead of time, so a lot of people knew it was coming. But, you know, do spoilers necessarily hurt wrestling these days? NXT got a little ratings increase for Keith Lee's title win the other week when that was spoiled in advance. And, you know, you hear a name like Eric Bischoff's going to be on the show, maybe you might just tune in after hearing that. So we'll see what happens when the numbers come out later, and then tomorrow when we have the quarter-hour breakdowns and so forth. But this went about as well as could be expected, I think.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of spoilers, look, we get a lot of people moaning that we spoil stuff here at WhatCulture. Really simple, just avoid going online. I didn't know it was going to be Eric Bischoff. The Dudley Boys told me that they knew who it was, but it was probably, you know, something that might be a nice little surprise for some people, or like you say, could have been a tease for others. I have things on my computer that allows me to avoid spoilers. I do it regularly after UFC shows. We did need to mention that Orange Cassidy, after cutting that electric promo, got murdered by Jake Hager and then hit with the Judas effect. And, in case we don't mention it later, Andy, your boy Scorpio Sky's taking a shot at the TNT Championship.
Very happy about that. He had a big night on Dark this week, leveling up against Cody. You know, I love the Cody reign. I don't think that the open challenges have ran out of steam yet, and I wasn't in favour of a title change, but kind of am now. Shall we pivot over to... No, we're not going to pivot over to NXT. I've got to talk about Matt Hardy first. Not yet. We do these things in a row, you know. Matt Hardy bled everywhere on Dynamite. Jesus, this was wild. Segment with Sammy Guevara, cut a promo. Sammy jumped him afterwards. Cut to the chase. Sammy launched a chair at his face, just threw it straight at him. The leg caught Matt Hardy. It cut him wide open across his forehead. He ended up taking like a flip dive thing through a table, and when he came up, man, his whole face was red. There was blood in his hair. His hair's black as well, so when you can see the blood in it, you know there's a lot that was pooling on the mat, on the floor. It was gross, but it added a lot to the segment, this seemingly accidental bloodletting. And we've got a report here from Fightful Select saying that Hardy needed 13 stitches to close the wound after the show. However, he's doing fine despite the significant blood loss. So it's the kind of thing that, like, okay, it sucks if you're Matt Hardy, right? You've lost blood and all this stuff, and it was kind of stomach churning there. But at the same time, you know, it adds something to the feud, and it makes it feel more heated and intense. And, you're not advocating stuff like this to happen and then for them to do it deliberately, spill that bunch of blood on purpose in the script or whatever, but it's a double-edged thing. It's a complicated issue. Sometimes it really enhances a feud or an angle, and I think Sammy versus Matt Hardy feels a lot more bitter because of this.
Yeah, it could be worse. You could be Trent's mum's van. So
Yep.
Honestly, I was watching this in the small hours of this morning, and initially thought, because they were bigging it up on commentary, they got hit with a chair leg, and I thought, is this just a way to segue into a nice little blade job? And then when I saw how much blood there was, I was like, well, either it's that time Eddie Guerrero tried to blade and then just pissed blood everywhere all over again, or the big leg got him, and it was not a pretty sight, was it?
No.
Should point out, it wasn't the only person who bled on last night's show. Moxley got busted open after getting hit with the title belt in the main event, defending his championship against Darby Allin. Really good match, that. I'm not even going to say what happened at the end, just in case people moan about spoilers. Go and check out that main event. It is really, really good stuff between Moxley and Allin, and as I said, MJF plays a role there too. Let's transition over to NXT, and the main event of NXT last night was the NXT Tag Team titles being defended. Imperium against Undisputed Era, Bobby Fish, and great to see Kyle O'Reilly back in the ring, of course. But more importantly than all that was the return of Pat McAfee to WWE TV. He's obviously had that weird ongoing feud with Adam Cole because he basically just slagged him off when he was on his podcast. One of the best podcasts that isn't called What Culture Wrestling. He said obviously he wouldn't have done anything that he had done as NXT champion without the Undisputed Era. This kind of boiled Adam Cole's piss, and the final straw was, of course, when he called him short. He pushed a producer, he pushed over a microphone and what have you. Then there was the whole Triple H making an apology, Adam Cole making an apology, an open invite extended to Pat McAfee, which he accepted and showed up, I think, am I right in thinking this, mid-honeymoon? I swear I saw he was tweeting he was mid-honeymoon. He was like, I'm just going to pop over to NXT for the wife says it's all right. So I'm not sure if that's the case. I may have just dreamt that. But anyway, he showed up last night. He was doing commentary on the main event whilst Roddy Strong and Adam Cole were ringside. Of course, with the lack of fans, Adam Cole could hear the, trash he was talking about him again. Didn't take too kindly to it. Went over to him, confronted him. It all started going off again. Adam Cole called him an angry elf and threw some water at him. There was a big pull apart, etc., etc. In all this confusion, Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly lost the match to the Undisputed Era. That's them. To Imperium. A good little match as well, by the way, that was going on in the background to all this. And then you thought, well, that was that. Then Pat McAfee decided to go back and call him a little bit of a bitch or something. And the show ended with Pat McAfee, the punter of the decade, as Andy Murray reminded me this morning, punting Adam Cole's head. The last shot was Pat McAfee being dragged away, being shoved all over the place by Shawn Michaels and Triple H. And Adam Cole kissing the pavement, effectively, just laying completely KO'd on the floor. Andy, it looks like we're getting McAfee versus Cole at TakeOver 30. TakeOver Kiss, Kiss, Kiss. And I'm here for it.
It's so weird, isn't it? It's such a weird little matchup. But you can kind of see the reasoning, right? Pat McAfee, I think he has something like 2 million followers and stuff. Like, he's a known person, punter of the decade, brothers. I confess, I don't know the single thing about hand-egg football, Baltimore bastard stuff.
Go Colts!
So I just kind of take other people's words on stuff like this. And, if you got a guy who can punt people, is really good at punting stuff, you might as well have him confuse Adam Cole's head for a football and do it on TV. Now, the one thing that kind of gets me a little bit about all of this is, the best take on Adam Cole's height? Adam Cole might be quite a short man, but when he stands on his wallet, he's 7 foot tall. Shout outs to indie wrestler Eric Stevens, who tweeted that. Cole should have just had that comeback on the show in the first place, and this would never have happened. He could have saved himself a lot of bother. Either way, it's an angle that's got people talking. It's an angle that will get attention. I like weird stuff. I like weird wrestling. Adam Cole versus Pat McAfee is a weird match, so hook me up, baby. I'm all the way in.
I have to say, TakeOver Triple X has got me rock hard with some of the matches they've got advertised. I mean, Karrion Kross versus Keith Lee, you assume that NXT North American Championship ladder match, which saw another twist last night with Dexter Lumis being taken out of it and Damian Priest qualifying. And there's just some great stuff to come on there. And we should mention, I'm not sure if we're not mentioning this in our story, so I'm going to mention it now. Congratulations to Dakota Kai, who qualified as the number 1 contender. So we're getting Dakota Kai versus Io Shirai. God, I can't wait for, 2.5 weeks' time?
2.5 weeks, brother. It's going to be a good card.
Yes, baby. Is it me? It is me. No, it's you.
Is it me? Christ, we're all over the place. Shall we speed round?
Let's do that.
All over the place today, as per usual. What upcoming NXT newcomer, up-and-comer, whatever, do WWE see as the next big thing? Ridge Holland is your answer.
Ridge Bloody Holland! He's from Yorkshire. Holland. He played for Hull Kingston Rovers.
The Peaky Blinder himself. Killian Murphy, something, I don't know. This is according to Brian Alvarez on Wrestling Observer Radio. He said that multiple people in the company have been talking to him, and a lot of them have the belief that Holland has the potential to be the next big thing, which bodes very well. Last night was his first match for the United States version of NXT, but he's been in NXT UK this year. Had the debut. He didn't win, but he wasn't pinned either in that triple threat. He's a big, beefy lad. He's got some muscle. He's got some significant athletic pedigree because he used to be a professional rugby player. So he was signed to a bit of hype in 2018. He did the media rounds here in the UK. As a result of this, I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with him going forward.
I'm really excited to see what they do with him. A lot of buzz around him, as you said, when he signed. A lot of buzz when you saw some footage of what he'd been doing in NXT UK. I believe we had him for at least 1 or 2 shows in either WCPW or Defiant, because I remember walking past him backstage and going, bloody hell, look at the size of him. He looks like a rugby player. Because, yes, he was a rugby player. I thought he looked terrifying last night. I'm excited to see what they do with him. Yorkshire being represented. Good to see. Good luck to Ridge Bloody Holland. I'm just going to call him that now. He's one of the roster of wrestlers I have to put the word bloody in between their first and surname, joining Billy Bloody Kane, Payne Bloody Royce. Right, let's talk about SmackDown tapings. Absolute bloody shambles. Or, not their words. More of a chaotic picture presented by Dave Meltzer. Apparently there was a plan to film 2 episodes of SmackDown at the Performance Center on Tuesday. That went out of the window due to, quote, organisational reasons. Make what you will of that. So they only captured 1 show, which is of course going to go out on Friday. There's more detail on this in the brilliant news story that Andy wrote up on the site of WhatCulture.com, basically showcasing how much their schedule of tapings has gone completely out of the window. And people are going to have to stay for longer than the usual period that they would have them for tapings. Presumably, I would guess, Andy, because storylines change every sodding minute in WWE.
Yeah, every single week we've got a story about how crazy and chaotic these tapings are. Usual slack gets cut here, crazy times, people dropping out of tapings here, there and everywhere. People coming back, storylines getting rewritten, torn up, whatever. Hey man, doesn't sound like a fun place to be at the moment. So here's hoping that at the bare minimum, all the people involved are staying safe.
Weird, because I thought SmackDown was really good last week, but still. Right, let's move on to your Twitter questions. At WhatCultureWW, of course, you want to get in touch with us. First question today comes from everyone's favourite misfit, who says, if Matt Cardona does become a full-on member of the AEW roster, could we see him on AEW Dark defending his internet title, Andy Murray?
Yeah, that makes so much sense, right? Doesn't it? Dark goes out on the internet. He has the internet title. The internet title is what got him over in the first place, along with those videos on YouTube. Yeah, absolutely. It's a good idea. It's a good shout. I'd like to see some little vignettes on the AEW YouTube channel, just little bits and pieces from him. He's got a history of getting over using that medium. And hey, guess what? So do the Young Bucks. That's why AEW exists. So, yep, good idea. Love to see it. I can definitely see it happening as well.
Yeah, some people have been asking us about another sort of mid-card tag title or something. I think that wouldn't really make much sense for me. So I think this, if you're going to have any more titles just shoved on, have one that arguably you could put in the main event of Dark each week or something. Who knows? I think that's a really good idea. Second question today comes from Mark Solid, who says, morning guys, what do you think about WWE bringing back Cyber Sunday or Taboo Tuesday with them throwing everything at the wall? Maybe this will help them see what the fans really want. Thoughts and possible matches. I feel like possible matches could be an entire podcast in and of itself, but I'm really behind this. I loved Cyber Sunday when it was a thing. Obviously, there's a danger, as there always is, with letting fans vote on things on the internet. Boaty McBoatface comes to mind, Andy Murray. But I like this idea a lot. I think it's the great move for WWE.
I think it is, but at the same time, a lot of those old polls were rigged and gimmicked and so forth. Now, it's a bit harder to do that now, considering the platforms that would be used and stuff. But you got to be, transparent with it and not just lie to your audience. I think that, for example, if you have a match, right, and the options are, do you want to see, I don't know, Adam Cole versus Daniel Bryan, and the other option is Baron Corbin, and Baron Corbin wins by like 80%, you've got an issue there, which is what might happen. So it's a good idea in theory, particularly if they bring back that mental set they had one year that had that massive BlackBerry in the middle, or whatever it was, but you got to be careful with the gimmicking.
Yeah, I think they're going to... I seem to remember a while back they used to do like, right, what match do you want to see Batista and The Undertaker in? It's like, do you want to see them in a steel cage match? Do you want to see them in just a normal wrestling match? Or do you want to see them just have a kiss and a cuddle? Let us know your votes. I'm reminded of the other vote that I seemed to, that popped into my head there. I think it was like, where should we send Justin Bieber on his world tour next? And North Korea won with a landslide. So, yeah, you're taking your life into your own hands there, WWE, but I want to see it. And it's not my problem if it all goes wrong. Final question today comes from Frankie Salinas. I hope I got that right, Frankie. I've messed up his bloody first name. Sorry, Frank Lee Salinas. Thank you for your question. Who just says this, Andy. Am I the only person that thinks of Andy Murray when I see Oni Lorcan?
I saw this earlier. Yeah, I mean, why do you think we've never been seen in the same room at the same time? I like the comparison. Bald guy, weird ears, weird face, little fluff here and there. Hey, I'm all for it. Oni's awesome as well. So,
Andy, how do you show it without saying the words the number one? Ayo, ayo, ayo,
you know my favorite thing about that tag team, you know why those guys are friends? It's because they both love numbers, they're both bald, and they're both really angry. That's also a description that fits me quite well as well. So
commiserations, by the way, to Danny Burch, who's going to be murdered by Karrion Kross next week on NXT.
That poor bugger.
So that story of him going to SmackDown probably has a lot of weight to it because, he's going to be dust on NXT by this time next week. Let's move on to today's and finally. Thank you to Christopher Stott who sent me this on Twitter. Basically, do you remember Right to Censor, Andy Murray?
Yes.
He sent me a link. He says, everyone must go on this website right now. Trust me on this one. A picture of Ivory in the war zone with righttocensor.com. If you are one of those, what about the Attitude Era people? Trust me, go to righttocensor.com. You will not be disappointed.
I did this earlier, can verify.
Indeed. Right, let's know your thoughts on that and all today's news stories in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. Myself and the Danley Boys reviewing the Wednesday Night War a little bit later on. Plus, you can let us know your thoughts and Twitter questions on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. Watch there, follow both of us. You can follow Andy Murray at...
You can follow me at Andy H. Murray. The H stands for he said, she said, bullshit. I think you better quit talking that or you'll be leaving with a fat lip. Limp Biscuit.
Banger. Follow me at Adam Wilmore. Follow us all at WhatCultureWWE. My thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.
Did you know that Fred Durst did it all for the nookie? You do now.